All right, let's go ahead and get started. Lucy may have mentioned already, there's the chat button. Feel free to throw your messages in there, our questions in there, and we'll be sure to answer them. Either if not on this call, Lucy can answer them for you, or we can send you an email afterwards. But it's a great place to send your questions. Make sure you get them asked so we can be sure to answer them. And well, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So this is what we're going to cover today, right? This is called the recruiter wish list, right? This is what we'll be covering is how to connect with decision makers and bypass the gatekeepers, how to build your pipeline without constantly having to cold call, right? How to stay top of mind so your prospects think of you when they're ready to do business with you, right? And how can you build your brand so you can get more engaged searches? That's what we're going to talk about. And at the end, if it makes sense, we'll actually set up a time to talk with you one-on-one. But don't worry, we're going to give you a bunch of value. And if it makes sense, you can set up a time to speak with us at that point, one-on-one, and we can go over your situation specifically. So this is being recorded. We'll make sure that we send you out the recording so you can have that as well. So just so you guys know who I am an advisor to Facebook, and I also own a software company with the founder of Google Analytics. So typically I teach other marketers how to do this type of stuff. I sold my last company after I built it to 125 employees, then got into teaching companies how to do marketing and started working with a lot of different marketers and teach them how to use systems like this to grow their business. And that's actually how I met David Tash. So he and I both were in a marketing mastermind, both working with some big brands you might recognize like Tiffany, Seven for Mankind jeans, some bigger brands. And he also had some clients in this industry. And we started doing some work together. And then about 9-10 months ago, we decided, hey, let's only work with recruiters and specialize in this industry. So we stopped taking on other clients in other industries and decided to work together. And now we have a company together, but we only work with recruiters. So just so you guys know who we are and what it is that we do. So what we started finding when we first started working with clients was the recruiting revenue roller coaster. This was clients with money in the front end, chasing clients, then chasing candidates, right? If this looks familiar to you at all, and you recognize this because you spend so much time developing the clients, then you got to go after the candidates. Especially if you're a full desk recruiter doing everything, you're going to see that ups and downs. So what we want to talk to you about is how do we build a PPC, a predictable profitability center, something where the most consistent part of your business is no longer your bills, but actually your leads, your incoming business that comes in each month. So that's what we're going to be sure to talk about. And that's really just two keys to our system, right? Really makes sense. We got to keep the lights on. So we're going to focus on key one. That's going after people that need your business now, right? And if you're doing that via cold calling, emailing, shaking hands at a networking event, whatever it is that you're doing, LinkedIn, Facebook, all these different methods are only going to generate you about 1 to 3%. People that actually will be willing to take a cold call, jump in and do business with you. Right message, right time is what we like to say, right? But this one, key two, that's the 97%, right? This is what we call digging the well before we need the water. And you can make your money on key one, and you can actually make really good money, but you build your wealth and make your wealth on key two, serving the 97% that aren't ready to do business with you now. So when they're ready to do business, you're the one that they're thinking of. So we're going to talk about how we focus on both those to build a really strong foundation and a really solid practice for you moving forward. So the good news, most of your qualified clients are active on LinkedIn. We know that, right? We can find clients on LinkedIn. It's a great business platform. You guys are probably all on it. So much so that we know the bad news is all of your competition is on LinkedIn. We know that because LinkedIn's made Recruiter Lite and Recruiter. They charge premium for these products because they know you're on it. So we've got to find a way to utilize and harness the power of LinkedIn, but that can't be all we're doing. We have to find a way to use LinkedIn combined with other strategies to take it from a connection to a conversation. So that's what I'm talking to you about right now. I'm gonna show you how you're doing that, how we're doing that with our system. And this is a 30,000 foot view, right? So just take a look, because we are using things like Facebook, we are using Google, we are using LinkedIn, we are using email and direct mail. And we're putting this entire ecosystem together so you're taking it from the connection to a conversation. But it does start over here, whether you're a one-person team, 5 or 10, doesn't matter. It starts with your profile, making sure your profile is there to attract the right people and making sure that we're targeting the right people with our connections. And what happens after we make the connections? How are, what are we saying in our connection requests, right? And then what are we saying after we make that connection? What's our follow-up message, and how does that sound? And are you testing it? I always tell people, we make our connections count by counting our connections. If I can ask you right now, how many outreach did you do last week? How many did you do last month? How many connections did you make? If you don't know those numbers, you got to start doing that right now. This is the first thing. You've got to start counting your connections and making sure they're the right ones, making sure they're going after the right people. And then A/B testing your message, so you're seeing what's getting people to connect, what's getting them to have that second conversation, right? Once we do that, then we can start going into the other pieces. Once we've got the targeting, once we've got the messaging right, so we know we're going after the right people and we're getting conversations. Up here is going to be the 97%. But occasionally, if we reach out to enough people, we're going to have the right message, right timing, and someone say, hey, let me see your calendar. Let's jump on a call. You're going to jump on a call with them. You're going to wow them, and they're going to become a client, right? And most people will put them in their database. What happens next is, you might follow up with them every couple months saying, hey, just checking in, seeing how things are going, or just following up, seeing how business is. Hey, been a while, just seeing how things are going. What ends up happening is you're just like everybody else, right? What your client knows is that you're just seeing if he's ready to send you more business. So you've got to find a way to nurture your clients, because if not, someone else is trying to steal them right now. Someone else is cold calling them, emailing them, using Facebook, LinkedIn, all those different methods to steal your clients. So you've got to nurture them in such a way that you're adding value above and beyond just delivering them candidates. So I'm going to talk to you about how we're doing this, but this is right message, right time, someone becomes a client. But up here is the 97%. This is what usually happens when you make that phone call, that email, that cold call, right? Hey, no thanks, we're good right now. Or, hey, we're okay, but let's jump on a phone call. That way when we're ready, I know a little bit more about your company. We might be hiring at the end of the summer, or we might be hiring in fall, or we might be hiring at the beginning of the year. What they're doing is they're testing you out to learn more about you, and how you do this next part can determine your business. Because again, this goes back to, most people would say, oh, I had a great conversation. They're gonna be hiring in a couple months. Great. Now you send the email, hey, just checking to see if you're ready to place that candidate. Hey, just checking in. Again, you end up being just like the other 3 or 4 recruiters that they told the same thing to. So we've got to make sure that we're following up in such a way that we're adding goodwill and value, so you become the obvious choice. How do I stand out from the rest of the crowd in such a way that it's easy to determine that when they're ready, they're just going to call you. They don't have to look for you. It doesn't have to be the right message, right time. You've been the person that's been top of mind. So I'm going to show you how we're doing that through goodwill. And what I say by goodwill is things like, hey, top 5 questions to ask your shortlist, or what to do when a key team member resigns early, right? These are things that are keeping them up, and I'll show you how we're doing that. But this is our entire ecosystem and how we're staying in front of that with email, Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn. So I'm going to dive right into it now and actually dive in a little bit to Sales Navigator, because what I mentioned was we're using our targeting of LinkedIn and the power of LinkedIn to fuel this, but this isn't all we're doing. It's not just LinkedIn. So hopefully you're familiar with LinkedIn and enough where you know what Sales Navigator is. If you don't, that's okay. About 90% of the recruiters we work with haven't used it, or only somewhat familiar with Sales Navigator. So if that's you, you're not alone. And what it is a tool over here. You click down the buttons. It is Sales Solutions. This is what you use for business development. Once you click into it, now we can use this to find leads. It is different than Recruiter, than Recruiter Lite, than Premium. We're actually using this to search for leads. And it's a very powerful tool. I'm going to show you the exact steps that we're doing right now to build what we call a custom crafted message, right? So I can go into here and go, hey, San Diego, right? Greater San Diego. Then think about who the decision makers are that you want to work with. So I mentioned I work with a founder of Google Analytics previously, still have a software company with him. So 20,000 founders in San Diego, phenomenal, right? But not all of those are gonna be a good fit for you. What is your company avatar? Who are the companies you work with? We know that most of our clients fall right around this range. You might deal with startups, maybe you deal with some bigger companies, but just suspend reality and work with me and pretend this is you, right? 51 to 200, this is most of our clients. The reason is they can typically afford a recruiter and they don't have an internal recruiter. So that's typically what we found. The other thing is now I can start filtering by things like relationships. I can also filter by industry. If you work in oil and gas, you want to make sure you're going after oil and gas. The real powerful part about this is that I don't want to find each one of these and guess what they're doing. I want to go, hey, I want to find all the founders in San Diego so I can build a custom crafted message, right? So now I can find the exact ones. And this is what we do. This is a small little plug, but our researcher goes in and finds all the ones. We want to narrow this down to about 1,000. I'll explain why. Because what we're doing is we're building that well before we need the water. So now I can leave a message to David. Hey, David, I work with other founders in San Diego. This is how I help them. Looks like we have some mutual connections. I'd like to add you to my network, right? This isn't anything fancy. We A/B test this message though as well, making sure, are we using the best message to actually connect with people, right? But I don't have to be so custom that I'm going through each one of these and looking at how I know them, all the different contacts. I can use the filters to help me build a custom crafted message. So it takes away from the canned, but it also takes away from the overly customized where we can't scale. That's where this becomes really powerful. So then all we do is go in here and I'd add a tag. And I'd say, make sure I spell this right, founders, San Diego, great. Save that. And then my goal would be to narrow this down to about 1,000. Now I can reach out to those 1,000. So let's pause for one moment and think about this. Let's say you think about right now your top 3 clients that you work with, and maybe the top 3 that you want to work with. And let's pretend that David was one of those, right? We can suspend reality and say, okay, David was it. We found him. Now, once we have those ideal clients in here, we can search this way as well. I can say, hey, LinkedIn, find me more people just like David. And this becomes really powerful because now I have 100 more people. And if you did that with your top 3 that you work with and top 3 that you want to work with, think about that. So there's several different ways. I could spend a full day just going through Sales Navigator. It's that powerful of a tool. But what I wanted to do today was to show you how to take some actionable steps to get business today. So the other piece of this, suspend reality one more time. This little tool, it's $85 a month. Again, I don't make $1 if you sign up for it. It's a LinkedIn tool. But what's powerful about this is, what if David was my ideal candidate, right? Think about that. Now I can go in here and say, hey, look, all the years at a current company or years of experience, their title, years in the current position, all the things that matter from a sourcing standpoint, I can use this tool to find candidates as well. So again, really powerful. We're showing you how to use this not just to get clients, but also to get candidates. So I want to show you one more thing that we're doing. I'm going to go here and hit home. While that's loading back up, I'll go back, just regular old LinkedIn, right? If I go in here to LinkedIn, I can go to the job section, right? So think about a typical position that you might fill. And then once we have that, I can go in here to the job section, and whether it's, an engineer or someone in the medical field, it doesn't matter. You can go in here to the job section. This is the free part. And what you're doing is, I want to look for companies that are a good fit, right? Maybe they're 6-figure positions because these are the type I like to fill because of the fee. And also maybe they've been looking for the past month, and so they're starting to feel the pain. These are companies that are starting to realize, hey, they need someone like a recruiter, someone that wakes up each day hungry and knows where to look for the right candidates. They wake up looking how to make their business better. You're waking up thinking, how do I find the best candidates, right? So now we have that information. I can look in there and go, perfect. Here's a company like this company right here. Now all I want to do is copy their information. I'm going to head back over to Sales Navigator, and all we're doing is going to look for the decision maker, right? So by putting this information here, I can now find, let's see here, top, there you go, make sure I get the right one, boom. There it is, 237. So my goal inside of this is to find the right, so here it is, COO and co-founder. We found that typically it's about 3 to 5 in a company this size, right? 5 max, we don't want to be spammy, but the goal is that I'm reaching out to those decision makers, and I can say to them, because I know what they're looking for, I can use, again, a custom crafted message, and I could say, hey, Gadi, G-A-D-I, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Notice you're looking for a solutions engineer. This is how I help companies like yours. Would love to jump on the call for 15 minutes and see how I can help you, right? We're directing their problem. We're talking about how we can help solve a problem that they have right now. And I can use a custom crafted message because all of them are doing what? Looking for a solutions engineer. They're decision makers, and they're going to push us the right person. If this isn't the person, if it's the hiring manager, it's going to be much better coming from the CEO, right? Now all I would do is go in here, add the tag, and then go back and find the next one. My goal would be to find 3 to 5 decision makers from each of these companies. And then now I'm building a list of what my second 1,000. So think about that. If you have 1,000 people that you're reaching out to versus that need to know who you are, and then another 1,000 that are in that 1 to 3%, what's going to happen? You're going to start getting a lot of responses. You're going to have enough in there, even the people that you were just reaching out to dig the well before we needed the water. What's going to happen is someone will say, hey, no thanks for not hiring now, but maybe in the future. Or someone might be potential candidates. But the goal is that you're categorizing them. So we didn't build Trello, but we had to find a way to, based off of what our clients had wanted, was to put it somewhere off of LinkedIn, because your LinkedIn will get very crowded. And what ends up happening is you can't keep track of it all. So what we did was we started pulling it. And again, our client said, what do they want? Recruiter wish list. I only want to talk to old Joe that want to talk to me. I was like, well, isn't that every salesperson's dream? Well, how can we make that a reality? We started adding in appointment setters and people that could manage this, so they did only have to talk to people that want to talk to them or have the conversation with them. So this isn't just talking about automation. What we have is actually human appointment setters that are saying, hey, thanks for reaching out. This is the client said this to our client. Hey, I will travel the next 2 weeks, but let's get something on the calendar in December. These are the ones our clients cared about. This is that hot list, right? And you should be doing the same thing. You should be taking your hot ones, putting them somewhere into some type of CRM. We give all of our clients a free one. This is just kind of an example of what it looks like, but you also want to gather this information, right? Because why did I say this? We want to take it from LinkedIn, from a connection to a conversation. Well, here's one more way I can do it. I can hit this button and through automation, trigger a handwritten letter through a company called HandyWritten. The price of $350, I don't want to send this to everybody, but it's cheaper than a cost per click on LinkedIn. And now I can get a letter into someone's mailbox, not just their inbox. This is one more way to stand out from what everyone else is doing. And that's our goal, is how do I separate myself from everyone else? And again, think about if you spent 3 to 5 handwritten letters to top prospects in a given month, what would your calendar start to look like? You'd have people following up, calling back. This is how you separate yourself. The other part is take all this information and we go here and we can upload it to the back end of Facebook, right? So you might be thinking, oh, my clients aren't on Facebook. Well, they probably aren't on Facebook listing themselves as the CEO or the hiring manager, right? And that's okay. We're not going to be messaging them like we would on LinkedIn. Our goal, though, is that when they're there, when they're at the restaurant, when they're standing in line at the grocery store, that we're popping from. Look, 70% of the people admitted to taking their phones to the bathroom. Look, free tip, don't borrow people's phone. The reality is we want to make sure, though, that we're staying in front of the people when they're on their different devices. So when they're on Facebook or Instagram, I can put an ad in front of them, right? But the ad's going to look different than everybody else because you're adding goodwill and value. So I talk about that. How do we do that? How do we stand out from the crowd? Well, we start giving them, things like this, right? Top 3 factors to be aware of to help identify employees who present a flight risk and what you can do to help keep them. This is what those CEOs and hiring managers think about. And this is what they care about. And all of a sudden, you connect with them recently, they saw you, they checked out your website, and all of a sudden this pops up. You're adding value, you're staying top of mind, and you're not being salesy. This is how you can change the conversation in your authority by actually helping them out along the way. A lot of people talk about how they can help them out, but they're not adding value. This is how you can add value. Hey, ever been blindsided when a key team member resigns? This is the type of information that all of a sudden, when you start putting in front of them, you're catching their attention. You become the person that they're thinking of and the authority in that space when you're talking about it. The other side of it is, real quick, I won't spend too much time here, but take a look. You put that on LinkedIn, look, 861 views of my last post. And this doesn't cost $1. I will tell you, over here, you got to put a couple dollars behind it. And the reason is, if you just put it on your personal page, only your friends and family will see it. If you put it on your business page, only 1% will see it. You've actually got to put a couple dollars behind this in order to stay top mind, have it show up in your target audience's newsfeed, right? Not your friends and family. But on this, take a look at this, 861 views. This didn't cost $1, right? And I can see who's been viewing my posts, 169 people with a title recruiter. This is the right industry. The right people are seeing my post, and it's because LinkedIn is so hungry for content right now. If you start putting content out there, you can stand out from all of your competition. So with that being said, take a look at this. This is the whole goal of this, was to give you ideas on how your company can stand out, how it can be different than your competition. And this is just a couple different ways, right? By using the power of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, we've taken that and we've took that information. Sorry, my screen will go dark for a second here. And as this loads up, oh, come on. There we go. We've taken Sales Navigator and now we've plugged all this information in to actually build that LinkedIn to Facebook bridge, right? So now I can pop up on LinkedIn, on Facebook, based off the information from LinkedIn. I can use that targeting and be really effective. The other piece is, I want to leave this with you, is that now, again, 90+% of the companies we look at don't have this on there. I'm going to talk about this little piece of code over here. It's called a pixel. This is a pixel, and Facebook has it, Google has it, LinkedIn has it. It's a tracking cookie. Imagine you've ever been to Amazon to look at a pair of shoes, and all of a sudden you go somewhere else and those same pair of shoes pop up. It's like, oh my goodness, it's a sign. Well, it's not really a sign. What it is called remarketing, and it's way more effective than just putting dollars into Facebook or Google or LinkedIn. We're going back so that it actually been to a certain page on your site. And again, not these little buttons that are here that take you to Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. It's a piece of code. It's free, and you can get it from LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all the different ones have it. We use those top 3 that I mentioned, and the reason is for remarketing. Now, we do this for all of our clients, but companies do charge to put that in, but the Facebook and Google offer the actual code for free. Then from here, this is where you want to make sure that you overhaul your profile. We call it the profile overhaul for a reason, is that every now and then you got to make sure what's changed. And how are you utilizing this? This is like a landing page for people when you're making those connections on LinkedIn. They want to see, your picture. They want to see the background. And this is really important. I find this being the biggest miss. Most people have their bio reading like a resume. And the reason is LinkedIn was set up that way originally, but you should be talking about who you help. What problems do you solve? And when you do that, again, you change, because someone's going to come look at you. They're going to say, okay, who's David? I don't care if he's a CEO. Oh, okay. Successful Staffing Agency Podcast. Perfect. Okay. Who does he help? Who does he serve? Then they'll connect with you. Then they're going to dive deeper. That's where they're going to go to your website. They're going to take a look at you. But guess what? They're at the restaurant. They were busy. They're going to click out that button. And this is how we want to make sure that we're staying top mind, is automating the follow-up through ads, right? Through making sure that we're staying top mind. People start to do business with people they're familiar with. So the more they start to see around, you're not showing up to me, to your mom, to your friends, but you're showing up in their news feeds on Facebook and their news feeds on LinkedIn through targeted ads on Google, right? So now all of a sudden, this is how you can elevate your brand, your authority, and stay top of mind. Really powerful. How do I take it from their inbox to their mailbox? Yet one more way to separate yourself from LinkedIn and what everyone else is doing, so you're not just following up, right? I mentioned this earlier on, is making the numbers count by counting the numbers. Whether we're doing ads or LinkedIn messaging or emails, we're tracking everything to the point where I know, hey, for every 100 connection requests, I'm getting 19 to 30% connecting back, 2 to 6 responding, right? You should know your numbers. That way you can start growing. If you're not tracking them, start doing it today so you can know when you can scale. How many appointments does it take to get to close a deal? How many connections does it take to get appointments? When you start to reverse engineer it, all you're doing is making marketing a math problem. And that's really all it is. And when you do that, when you make marketing a math problem, that's when things become fun. They become fun problems to solve. Like our client, Jessica, right? 23,000 revenue in 2 weeks. Obviously she didn't get paid that 23,000, but what's even more exciting, this was over 10 months ago. We went back and re-interviewed her in a recent interview and found out she had 19 placements just from one of those clients. So think about that. It just takes one really good client when you're doing marketing, and you've got to go do that phenomenal job like we talked about. They did the work. They brought in phenomenal candidates, but they've now got 19 more placements in the last 10 months. Think about how that can change your business. Just find that one good client, right? Same thing with Will. Will was able to double the size of his business. I say this because when you do that, you got to make sure that your marketing is in good shape, that you're not just doing one thing. You're not just doing cold call. That's like his right arm would get really sore. It's just like working out one arm versus the rest of your body. If you just worked out his arms, you'd have chicken legs. It's the same thing with marketing. It's important to work out the entire pieces of it. So when one thing isn't working as well, you have other pieces, but making sure the foundation is there. And then also, guess what happens? You start to get results, and people taper off. Either they're not working as hard, or they need to change some things up, and then they stop, right? And then, oh, start back up again. So it's so important to be consistent. I tell us all the time that it's just so similar, the comparisons of working out and marketing. Because if you did P90X for 7 days, I promise you'll probably just be really sore, very limited results. It's the same thing with marketing. When you just try something for a limited time and you don't give enough, you're not testing what's working and what's not working, right? You know, I hear people tell me all the time, oh, I tried Facebook ads, it didn't work for me. And I dig in deeper. It's like they did an ad and they tried it for a week or two, and they didn't want to waste money. Things weren't happening, but they weren't testing things out. That's what we as a marketing company are, testing everything out, but we're tracking everything so we can see what works, and we can build an actual scalable model that you can start getting clients in predictably, month in, month out. So obviously, you know, this is what you're going to need. We've talked about this when we were doing consulting. We were telling clients, hey, you're going to need a researcher, someone to build your custom crafted messages, an appointment setter, your automation, company branding, Facebook, Instagram, remarketing campaigns, all this set up, right? And I tell people, look, you should put together a plan that's 90 to 180 days, something that you know that you can count on, that you can be consistent with, right? Because if you just try something, you're gonna be really bummed out. So as we were building all this out, we found out every company is obviously different, right? And depending on what stage you are in your business, what are the things that you need? In my opinion, if people come to us and say, hey, do I really need this? Well, you do, but what stage of the game are you in, right? Are you even ready to set up remarketing campaigns if you haven't have enough traffic to your website? So I don't like to assume that we're the right fit for everyone. This is where I told you at the end, we talk about what it's like to work with us. So just so you guys know, we'd love to learn more about your business, but we know that we're not the best fit for everybody, but still would love to see if you're interested in learning more what it's like to work with us and what it's like to have a marketing plan put together specifically for your business, then this would be a good time. Lucy's probably messaging you right now. And the goal is that we're setting up a time to learn what you need, right? To put together an actual marketing plan for your business. And if you'd like to learn more, see what this would look like for your agency, set up a time. We do only work with one recruiter per market, per niche. And this allows us to really make sure that we're doing a great job for everyone. So that being said, you know, like I said, Lucy probably sent him a message, but feel free to set up a time, and there's no pressure, right? The goal is to see, hey, are we a good fit, and what's your plan? What's it going to take your business from point A to point B, and where's your point B? What does that really look like for you? So we do ask you to fill out a small application, and we'll send you the link, and it takes about 5 minutes. Just gives us a chance to get to know you better, so I can actually put together a true assessment of what you need. So with that being said, I will stop talking so we can actually set this up. All right, cool.